we'll go ahead and get started now. Thanks everyone for joining our live webinar, hosted jointly between Netcore Cloud and Webtrends Optimize. I'll be your host today. So I'm the sales director for UK and Ireland at Netcore Cloud. I'm joined by our two experts. So we have Stuart Rex, who is the commercial director at Webtrends Optimize, and then my colleague Anoop, who is the head of solutions and growth at Netcore Cloud. So the format today is mainly going to be our two experts sharing their experiences and some stories really of the best ways to approach certain challenges, which we've noticed are quite common as brands try to kind of achieve these goals, attract new customers and hold on to them. A bit of housekeeping first, and then some more intros, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So, first of all, obviously already explained who I am and Anoop and Stuart. One thing that we want to do is make sure that we gather any questions that you have, any points that you want to add to the conversations as well. If you agree, if you disagree, if you have any stories that disprove or back any of this up, please share them through. And then also, if you're looking for any advice in specific situations as well, please go ahead and share them. If we have time, we'll get to some of these during the webinar, but we will be following up and answering all questions which are raised. We will also be sharing the recording of this webinar directly with you. And then if you want to talk about any specific stats that we've shared, things like that, we'll probably go through those one-on-one. Okay. Some brief introductions to the two companies, first of all. So first of all, Netcore Cloud. It is a full stack customer engagement solution. So we help over 5,000 brands across, I think, 43, 44 countries now, essentially globally, to essentially communicate and form these hyper-personalized experiences with their customers at scale. So we do that across a wide range of different stages of the customer journey and across essentially all channels, just enabling these brands to really form a strong bond and to understand what their customers want from them and to help deliver it. Webtrends Optimize, so they are essentially a full stack platform as well. I think the only solution I've ever seen in the space which doesn't have any paywalls, restrictions, offers the full functionality of their platform to all customers, which means that they can deliver on whichever strategy is best put for those specific brands without being limited by which channels are available, enabled, etc. So what they are is essentially experimentation experts. So they ensure that businesses can increase their online conversions and maximize the return on investment that they're getting by making informed, data-driven decisions. And they have a simple approach and market-leading technology to enhance digital experiences and allow experimentation without any restrictions. Yeah. We will, of course, obviously this information is available on both websites of the platform as well. And if you want to discuss in more detail, you'll be able to pick up with us. But without further ado, really, I suppose we'll get over to the, just kicking off discussions. And probably first of all, to start with you, Anoop, question would be, kind of what are some of the challenges that brands have to navigate to get to the mind share of modern customers while still hitting all of their KPIs?
Hey, thanks, Dom, for the question. Hi, everybody. Hope you're all having a good start of the day or a good day based on wherever you are joining it from. Coming to your question, Dom, I think as we evolve, the attention span of modern consumer has actually dropped. And I would say even lower than that of a goldfish, right? And it's currently about 6 to 7 seconds, the attention span. And this is because the modern customer actually has a lot of needs and wants, and they're extremely prone to checking out things that they really want to, the way they want to, and where they want it, right? It totally depends on the time, duration, the device, the location. And research says that 98% of the consumers leave without transacting, right? And again, it's not because the deals are not enticing people, but it's more to do with not just the offer value that a consumer gets, but it's the overall experience that the brand gives and how they feel at the end of it. Regardless of how good the shopping experience is or how good the offer is, if the shopper really doesn't land on the website or the app and find what they're looking in very quickly or get to where they need to be very quickly, they're going to leave the experience, right? And again, few of the stats from a few of the leading research agencies says that 91% of the shoppers abandon their online retailer over a poor experience, right? And with a lot of sales coming in, right? A lot of offers and sales that brands are constantly finding to entice or acquire customers, you really don't want to leave them without them getting converted or hold their attention, right? And if you're losing them, you're basically losing a big chunk of meat. And if I have to talk about the problems that the modern customer currently has, right? Again, few of them could be, again, constantly getting distracted with a lot of notifications that they got on mobile, right? Or people just leaving, people multitasking and doing a lot of other stuff. With all of those problems or with all of these challenges that the modern customer is creating, brands have to fight for consumers' attention, right? And if you are not able to attract them, the customer has millions of options. The customer has your competition. There are marketplaces which are undercutting both you and your competition, right? And they can basically go wherever they want. The problem is choice. And because the market is saturated and everybody is selling the same thing, the only differentiator that you can provide is the experience that you give, right? And that experience can be basically, if I have to pull up some stats for the experiences, just give me one quick moment. I'm going to pull up some stats for the retention game, right? Quick heads up, you're able to see my screen?
Yeah. Yes, we can see.
Cool. So according to the stats, it says 5% in increasing customer retention can result in a huge profit uplift, right? You don't want to keep spending thousands and thousands of dollars in acquiring new customers, but because your cost of acquisition to conversion is super low, right? But if you just increase the retention rate by 5%, your profitability goes up almost between 25 to 95%, right? And that essentially is what you want to focus on. While a lot of brands today focus on acquisition and they're spending thousands of dollars in ad tech, and basically that's ad waste, right? You're spending. Instead of that, if you can focus on your core customer segment that you have already captured and enhance the experience, ensure ways that you can retain them, engage them better, that's going to lead to a bigger jump in your profitability spike index. And one of the way that you can actually do that is by switching from a single channel or a multi-channel experience to an omni-channel experience. And what you can do is, instead of running your campaigns in silos on different campaigns, what you can do is you can unify the entire experience and ensure that you're speaking the same language as the customer. And that could be one of the way you could tackle the problem of the modern consumer.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, that's I mean, obviously I agree. We've done a lot of work on this together ourselves, but interesting to hear, kind of from the chat as well as we go through. And I suppose the next point, kind of linking to that as well, but going to you, Stuart, what would you say is how would you leverage data and analytics really to help get users' attention and create some wow moments?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, cheers. I mean, you've kind of set me a high bar there. So I think ultimately the key here is not relying on a single source of data. Very often we see some of our customers looking at Google Analytics as a single source of truth. And I think since the migration between Universal Analytics and GA4, which is either done or ongoing or still to be done for some brands, we're seeing that the yardstick that everyone's relied on as a source of truth has kind of changed, and it's sort of exposed some of the flaws perhaps in previous analytics models. Now, whether you're using GA4, whether you're using something like Matomo or Fathom or Adobe Analytics, doesn't really matter. It's one kind of source of truth. Your testing platform, so us or any of the other testing vendors out there, will have their own data. And then if you overlay that with data from sort of behavioral insights tools, things like Content Square, Full Story, Glassbox, Hotjar, any of the others that are out there, Microsoft Clarity or any of the others, all of those are going to have slightly different versions of the truth. And it's not to say that one is correct and one is incorrect. It's just that the way that all of these platforms measure have a slight difference in delay. They might have a slight difference in accuracy. They have a difference in setup. And being able to challenge and question those and make sure that you're clear on what your data and analytics are telling you is a really important foundation. And I think once you've got that foundation in place, you can then start asking questions to yourself. Things like, why is someone on your site? Why are they on that page? And what's the main thing they want to do when they're there? What other things might they be there to do? And ultimately, like, where did they come from? Where are they going next? And like I kind of said earlier, all of the tools that I've mentioned can tell you this with varying levels of accuracy and various levels of delay. Now, some of those things, if we pick Google Analytics and an example many of you will probably have heard me talk about before, you would know that someone's completed a form, for example. We'll see that goal has been met, and we'll get a click to say, yeah, they've done that. What we haven't seen is whether they clicked into a form field, whether they feed data into that form field, whether they triggered an error, or anything else for that matter. So we're not really going to know what things they've done there, like what niche behaviors they may have displayed. And that the thing I think you then want to think about is, like, where is your opportunity for the wow moment? To answer your question, Dom, like, where is the opportunity for the wow moment, and do you need one? Your analytics will show you kind of where people are falling out through the journey, and what objections do you need to handle in progressing someone through that journey. That could be your opportunity for a wow moment, or actually it might be that the wow moment is that they don't need a wow moment. They can just sail through that journey unrestricted, and that's good enough. Thinking about what distractions are in place that could make someone click away, and how can we make it easier for people to do the thing they want to do. A really good example of this that I've seen recently was on some of the electronics retail sites. So I know AO have got a version of it. Currys have had one historically, and I must have fallen out of their test because I couldn't see it the other day to grab a screenshot. But if you go into those sites and you highlight the product code, they will then bring up an overlay that says, will price match. Here's where our competitors are today for this product at this time. And you've understood the behavior that the chances are, if someone's going to highlight that product code, they're going to take that, paste it into Google, and go and find a better price. So let's put that wow moment in. Let's intervene. That the analytics and data tell us they do that as the last action, and then they go off site. So let's find a way of keeping them on site by offering them a price match. It's not a massive wow moment, but it's a means of trying to retain those people and give them the experience to complete that purchase with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think I 100% agree with that as well, even just based on experience of shopping. I think most shoppers, they don't necessarily want to be wowed. They'll be wowed by the product when they eventually get it, but the experience itself, they just want it to be as simple as possible. So yeah, absolutely echo those thoughts. It's over to you, Anoop, maybe to share some thoughts on creating micro moments, so with relevant content, and how to offer personalized experiences to help you win across the journey.
Of course, I think just picking up from where Stuart left, those experiences matter to you, right? Those personalized experiences based on the data that you get from multiple sources become a crucial part in your engagement journey, right? But if I have to decode the type of journeys that you have, right? If I have to talk about different engagement types that you can engage with the users, I think I broadly classify them into three different engagement types, right? One is a game of attention, where a lot of brands which are in the gaming space, the OTT space, actually work on this model, where you actually want your shopper to be on your app or on your website, on your particular application for longest duration of time. And that's exactly how a game of attention as an engagement type works. And you later go ahead and capitalize that based on a few of the, you create some revenue out based on the advertisements that you might be showing later, selling the premium subscription to avoid advertisement. That's when the revenue game comes in. But before that, the engagement type is the game of attention. While compared to e-commerce, like let's say an ASOS or Amazon, the engagement type would be the game of transaction, right? They want the customers to come in and complete the transaction as soon as they can, right? And that's how the engagement type would all be focused on. How do you ensure that the first sale is made? And of course, a lot of B2B companies like Evernote, even Netcore, Adobe, Salesforce, all work on the game of productivity, right? How do we ensure, how do we create that engagement in such a way that they complete the task, a task or a workflow on the platform, right? To ensure that they increase the productivity. And talking about that, based on these 3 different types of models, each and every brand that you see in the market have a specific metric that they would want to focus on, right? Let's say, for example, if I have to split this into attention, transaction, productivity games, and few of the companies that actually are following this, let's say a Facebook, right, or a Netflix, actually have attention as their North Star metric. So few of the North Star metrics that go in line with attention are the number of people who are actively engaging with the feed, or people watching a specific, let's say, a video for X amount of hours. While compared to, let's say, a Salesforce or Adobe, who are working on a productivity game, the number of engaged customers, the number of accounts created. So based on this engagement metric, what we can actually do is try to see how do we create that ladder of engagement, right? So each and every brand has a different type of ladder of engagement or the engagement loop that you get to create. Of course, the first thing would be to go ahead and bring your customers into the, create that curiosity or bring the customers into the app or the web. And of course, create those wow moments and then show them the value exchange, right? Now, here is where you ideally loop into either a one-time purchase and the repeated purchase, right? So you ideally don't want them to complete the sale and finish the interaction with the customer and going back to curiosity level. You might want to push them into a repeated purchase mode by actually having that trigger, right? That trigger is what is defined in your engagement metric or creating that micro segments. Actually, let's have a look at a couple of examples of how do we look at, let's say, a few of the brands that are actually following this ladder of engagement, or what are those triggers, what are those ladders that actually can help those brands drive that engagement, right? Facebook could, ignore ladder number 2 and 3 for now, but let's say Facebook as a brand, for the first time when they actually come, they create the aha moment and they, let's say, drive the engagement towards adding friends in the first 10 days. That is the trigger for the first ladder. But as you go along, right, you actually want that consumer to spend a lot of time as they are actually following the attention seeker model or that game of attention. And that's where you drive them to consume a lot of content. And then, of course, the next ladder would be social proofing, like adding, commenting, and then working on different things. Now, one of the important things that a marketer can do is identify the leaky buckets between these ladders, right? So once you define this ladder, the marketers then identify the leaky buckets between ladders and use a specific strategy to bridge that gap, right? But all of this is all coming down to creating those micro segments to understand where your engagement type is and how do you engage with them. I'll end this question with another example of Uber, right? While the first ladder is creating a transaction complete or booking a ride, essentially, and for an app like Uber, you could actually end your journey there, right? There's no need for you to actually go into ladder 2 and ladder 3. But ladder 2 and ladder 3 is actually the thing that's creating stickiness for you, right? you're actually ensuring the user gives the feedback. We respect the user's feedback. They're coming back because there's social proof. There's and if I see this correctly, even the driver is able to actually look at the user's profile and user's rating, right? You're creating a trust between driver and the rider and ensuring that the stickiness is being maintained. So that's how you actually go ahead with your micro segments, if that answers your question, Bob.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so then I think some good points raised by both of you there. If we would move then to Stuart, probably the next area to explore is what is the best way to optimize your customer's experience on the app or on the web?
Cool. Yeah. So, Dom, I think, as you know, I've prepared a couple of slides here. And first of all, I'd like to thank the marketing team for letting me completely butcher the website. Are you able to bring those up? Because I think I'll break everything if I do it. Hopefully.
Yeah, of course.
Here we go.
Just, sharing
cool.
now.
So please don't do what I've done, is all I'm going to say to you on this one. Cool. So if we imagine here that as a team, we've sat here and we've said, right, our KPI here is we want to increase the number of people clicking free trial. And the hypothesis we've got is that if we make the button really big, people will be much more likely to click it. And also we've got a secondary problem that we're wasting space above the fold that could help us to shout louder about why people should do this thing. So I've highlighted in some boxes some really effective changes that I'm sure I've made here. And I've made the free trial and the get in touch buttons really big because everything else was just a distraction. And then I thought the headline that the marketing team have come up with just wasn't really that strong. So I thought what we should do is make people feel really cool. So tell them to test stuff because it makes sense. And the people that test things are proven to be 94% cooler than non-testers. I thought that was a much stronger headline than our ROI one that was perhaps a little bit small. And secondarily, I thought, we weren't shouting enough about the platform and the fact that we've got some really cool features. So we should tell people about that too. So the plan was to implement this, and the result was that I created this absolute abomination on the right-hand side. And Dom, if we could just skip to the next slide, you'll kind of see some of my next pieces of work. So in this example, I again wanted to increase the number of people clicking free trial, and thought, well, actually, there's another distraction here, and if we just get rid of get in touch and make free trial bigger, more people will take free trials. And I guess my point here is these given examples are clearly ridiculous, and no one in their right mind is going to do what I've just done to our website here. But really, I guess the only way that we can confidently know we're improving the experience that our customers have on our website is to test against a genuine control. Now, if we rolled out the big button without any proper analytics in place, back to my earlier point, the best case scenario is that after the event, we could see how many people didn't click get in touch. And we may have increased one KPI metric, which was to get more people clicking free trial, but what problems have we caused with other metrics? And what have we done further down the funnel? Have we actually just increased the number of trash leads that are coming through? And they're the kind of things that will grate on you if you were just to go, let's just hit this one metric without considering the broader picture. And whilst it sounds obvious, I think you need to know what you're testing and why you're testing it. And then to make sure that whatever you are testing, you've got a good control, so you can look at the full picture and say, right, have we actually removed a problem here? Have we moved it further up or down the funnel? And have we actually had any adverse effect on some of the other important metrics to us beyond just the key metric that we said for this one test of people clicking free trial? Dom, if we could just click to the next slide, I've got an example that might help sort of show what you could do to optimize your customer's experience and how this could be a really good experience. So in this example, you'll probably notice on our call today, all three of us are wearing dark or black t-shirts. This was not planned, by the way. And in this example, I went onto Google and I gave all the information that I could need to pass over to a brand. So I've said I'm searching for a Selfridges men's medium black t-shirt. I've then clicked through to the top link, the sponsored link for Selfridges, and I landed on this generic homepage at the top, which shows me a woman's coat, some kind of Yves Saint Laurent lipstick, jumper, some high heels, things that are nothing like a male black t-shirt in a size medium. And these have got nothing to do with my search query. So the first thing I've done is told Google exactly what I want. I've clicked through to where I want to go, and my first experience of landing on that page is disappointment. Now, if I'd have clicked through and landed on the page below, which would be a filtered version of that site, clothing, tops and t-shirts, in a medium, in black, I'd have been delighted. And there are certain aspects of what I've told that brand that will ring true. So I will likely continue to be a medium-sized male for most of my purchases. If I'm not always going to want a black t-shirt, but there's a chance that I'm still going to remain as a medium-sized male. And so to give, when I next come back to the site, for Selfridges to promote medium-sized male clothing is going to give me a better experience than landing and seeing some rather attractive, but not particularly useful to me, Jimmy Choo high heels. And so this sort of experience can be achieved either on a one-to-one basis, using information that's collected on, from my behavior on the site, or you can use social proofing to kind of take an aggregated view of what's happening across the site. So if we know that lots of people are landing through a particular campaign, or there's a product that's being promoted, perhaps a celebrity's been spotted in a particularly dashing black t-shirt, we can start prioritizing that up in the search order, up into the homepage on particular landing pages. And a lot of the time, users will be giving away cues as to what they're looking for. It's about trying to kind of tailor that experience for either on the one-to-one basis, like I described earlier, or to kind of allow the site to move with the groundswell. But it's something that we're starting to see brands doing more and more. And this can be done via UTM, via things like data that we can collect through Netcore Cloud. There are lots of ways that we can do these things. And if anyone is interested, we're very happy to have a conversation about how these things can be done. But all of these things are really cool. And I guess the question that we always have to kind of ask is this level of personalization worth it? So do you start with one audience or segment that are particularly high value to you? Either they're high value in margin or in percentage of your audience base. And then to do a small test to say, does this personalized experience actually alienate those audiences or segments? There are times where personalization can feel intrusive, and it's trying to find whether that works for that audience in that scenario or for that segment. And a lot of times, we see brands rolling out big personalization programs without running those against a control and seeing whether that experience actually does lead more people to buy, whether it just delivers a better UX experience, which could be a key metric in itself. But ultimately, it's very difficult to attribute a genuine ROI to those personalization campaigns unless you're running against a control. I diced a bit all over the place with that, but hopefully it kind of made some sense with what I was trying to explain.
No, it was a fantastic example, I think, for me. The time you were speaking about it, I think something I often tell brands to compare it to as well. I know there's a growing number of brands that don't have any physical presence, but just to compare how you treat your online customers to how you would treat them if they were offline and walked in. So in that example, let's say you actually walked into Sainsbury's, into Selfridges, and asked them said you're looking for a black t-shirt in medium. If they then sent you to, where you can buy some fragrances, it doesn't make sense. You'd be confused as to why. Yeah. It's an analogy. I think it ties in nicely with everything. Let's say as well, if you we're fortunate enough to go to Selfridges every week, eventually the staff are going to start recognizing you and knowing what you want. And it's a lot easier to do that, I think, online than it is to do it in person.
Definitely.
But yeah, so yeah, the whole time you're going through it, I just had that, because I keep telling so many people to do it, had that in mind as well. So yeah, moving to Anoop again, I think it would be good just to explore maybe what strategies can brands use to catch attention now that we're in a market with impatient shoppers and they're spoilt for choice with a lot more competition.
But I think I'll just continue where Stuart left. Just imagine the same example of searching black t-shirt, and this was one on-site experience that the shopper had. But how about we actually continue some good experiences offline as well, right? That could be some different ways to engage with the users very creatively. Let's say I start searching for, let's say, a black t-shirt, which is when I'm online. But let's say I get distracted because of the impatient shopper that we have been speaking about for almost 30 minutes now. How do we ensure that we bring that user back to the website, right? It could be multiple strategies that brands can deploy to get that user back. One of the latest or trending ways would be interactive emails. So AMP interactive emails actually help you have some carousels inside, rich media inside an email, right? For example, some examples that you see here, we could actually have cart inside an email, which can actually say that, hey, these are the black shirts that you might like, but also these black shirts complement with some good denim jeans, right? Or a hat to go with your black t-shirt. So that is a few of the examples. And as you see here to the right, you can actually have a calendar or a shopping cart sent to your shopper. You can have feedback collected to say that, hey, you actually searched for a black t-shirt. How was your experience, right? That way your marketer is also aware of the experiences that your digital marketing is creating over the web and app. So that could be some creative ways of using AMP, which is interactive emails. And also this is, to talk about AMP, it's no redirect, right? A experience which it's basically something coming to your home where you need not redirect back to the website. You're doing everything inside an email, can enhance that or fasten that sale. And of course, few more creative ways would be to personalize the experience. I think Stuart spoke about it briefly. I'm going to re-emphasize the importance of having those personalized widgets on whichever channel that the marketers would like to engage with the users. Again, if you see, this is post-purchase, we're actually adding some complementary products. And this is one of the example where on a cart abandonment, we can actually say, hey, here are some items that are very close to what you actually browse. And again, customize the emails as well. The birth of SMS 2.0 has actually had a lot of boost in complementing email as a channel. So with traditional SMSs being just with a hyperlink, really didn't help. A lot of shoppers or marketers use that as an effective channel, except for transactional purposes. But now SMS 2.0 actually opened up a lot of complementary channel avenues for marketers to send respective content. For example, a travel app could actually just send a boarding pass over SMS, which is easier for the shopper to consume when they're on the go, right? A similar example could be WhatsApp, right? So email is not the only channel that you want to target using for an offline communication. You can complement it with, let's say, an SMS or a WhatsApp as well, with SMS and WhatsApp being a two-way messaging communication, right? Email has primarily become a channel where brands communicate, and we only track based on the clicks and the opens. But SMS and WhatsApp have become a two-way communication channel where customers have a live feeling or live interaction with a brand. And that could be some creative ways for brands to engage with the shoppers, impatient shoppers, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of that I think is just down to meeting different shoppers where they would like to be engaged with. Okay, and then I think probably to round off nicely, and probably tying back to the earlier slide. So aside from your own stint of experimenting on the website, Stuart, what would you say is the biggest mistake that businesses make when they seek to increase personalization across their website or their app?
Yeah, I think it's a good one. I mean, I think one is a bit hard. I'm actually going to go for three, and we see three common mistakes in general. And I think if we start, people are often really eager to prove the value, and they try and do too much too quickly. This is generally broken down into not prioritizing the key audiences and segments. So back to my earlier point, if you don't prioritize your audiences and segments and areas of the site that would most benefit from personalization, you just roll everything out carte blanche. You use an AI model to say, just go and personalize and it'll be grand. And you've got no real idea of cause and effect. That kind of leads me on to the second one, which is not questioning machine learning or AI models and their effectiveness enough. So generally, when we work with our customers who are looking to roll out any kind of level of personalization, we'd recommend rolling that out against a genuine control. So you've got some aspect of the site that can determine cause and effect between those personalized experiences and no effect. And not measuring those personalized experiences to establish cause and effect often causes the biggest challenge. So, we hear some fairly obtuse examples of, this delivered a 400% ROI by delivering this personalized experience. And you kind of say, right, well, was that actually because of the personalized experience, or was there a really effective PPC campaign that just happened to drive a bucket load more traffic into the site and the conversion rates remained the same? There was just more people coming in the top of the funnel. If you haven't got a means of establishing a control group versus the variant groups, you don't really know. And it's also then really difficult to work out which aspects of personalization have had the biggest impact. Is it, that you've got one audience or segment that have responded really well to that and they've brought up the average? Or actually, have you got one group or demographic that's really bringing down the average and delivering a relatively flat result? If you've got aspects of the site that might lend themselves much better to personalization than other aspects, prioritizing those, taking small steps, testing along the way, gives you a much more controlled means of establishing the true ROI of that personalized experience, and making sure that when you do roll that out, you're confident that it's a genuine lift because of personalization rather than just other factors that have caused that to happen. I think I've brought us back in on time. Perhaps
you have, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's lines up perfectly, really, with I think a lot of throughout the whole presentation, kind of I've got the feeling that if you're trying to make a quick fix and do one experiment, one change that's going to give you, like you said, 400% ROI, and then we did it, lads, let's sign off, we're done. Yeah. Then you're definitely going to lead yourself into mistakes. It's always going to be, a case of working, like you say, small recorded steps, working closely with an expert like yourself and your team, using the right technology to make sure you're actually measuring the cause and the effect. But yeah, I think you've done a great job and brought us in on time as well. So I think we'll wrap up there. I was checking the Q&A, but I think we don't have any actual questions at the moment. We'll be sharing the recording, as I said, with everyone. So with any questions that do come to mind, you will be able to, of course, share them through with the teams. You can also get in touch directly with our two experts or myself on LinkedIn, or share other contact details as well. But hope that the kind of the conversations today have been helpful for you. and have given you maybe some ideas for where you want to go next. And we'll leave it there. Any final thoughts that either you want to share? Or?
No, I think, as Dom said, any other questions? I know that these things often end up being, by their very nature, quite high level. If you want more specific examples or how this could apply to you and your brands and your problems, do contact us, because we've both done this across many different industries, different countries, different products, and we've got a fair flavour of what works and what doesn't, and we can all try and help to guide you and help you where we can.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Stuart, and thank you, Anoop, and thanks to everyone that joined. Cool. Take care. Have a good day.
Cheers.
Bye.